The second movement of the William Duncombe Sonatina is marked Maestoso, which we know means majestically. So the first phrase of this piece goes like this. All right, so the downbeats of each one of those measures can be played in a portato touch. If you have a younger student who is learning this piece, you don't really have to use the word portato. You could just say a very deep drop and then a roll forward and off the keys. So the reason why it really is a portato touch release is because the drop is deep, right? And the student really just holds on, right? Or just really sticks this particular sound. They really listen to the enjoyable sound that they're creating, and they also see a tenuto marking in that particular measure, so that they really understand that is the sign for a portato. So it's like an Olympic gymnast who has done some amazing feat on an apparatus, and then they jump off the apparatus and they really stick the landing, right? So that's what portato's like. They stick that landing, and then they feel like they are lifting themselves out from the keys. So here, yes, I lift, right, and I roll forward and off the keys. Okay, so you'll notice that when they're sticking this landing, they are making sure that their happy hanging humerus is definitely hanging, this bone here from the shoulder to the elbow. Their elbow is hanging, their forearm is hanging, and of course their wrist is also flexible. Now what about the other notes in between? So the student cannot use a woodpecker touch release because when the student uses the woodpecker touch release, they have to move to or throw to the bottom of the key. And then when they lift, they come back up to the place where they started. And this is going to take way too much time when the student gets it to be up to tempo. So instead, we could have them change their fingers on each of these notes so that they can go faster. So one thing that a student might do is actually brace or grip towards their bodies when they're playing these repeated notes, da, 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 like this. And that's going to cause undue tension underneath the wrist and the forearm. So instead, let's have the student drop even more and still feel like they are playing actually from the metacarpal joints up at the top of the hand. And this particular motion is called finger staccato. It's really like an advanced piece that I play by Emmanuel Chabrier called Beret Fantasque. That's the beginning of it. So you notice I'm using that nice finger staccato as well in that piece. So now the second line. I think it's a nice idea to have students play two woodpeckers and then just a little bit of a lengthier note at the end. So that could be also considered a little portato as they feel like they're lifting their weight out of the keys. So obviously this is a beautiful dropping, roll, and some very nice woodpecker touch releases for those staccato notes. Now here comes another question. If the student is playing with locked wrists, then we're going to have a sound like that. It's not very pleasant to the ear. So if the student is going to play woodpecker touch release, very slow speed. But this piece does need to go faster, so the tempo is 132. Okay, so this particular repeated note section has a rebound staccato touch release that must be used in order for the student to play it well. So any little pattern where you see repeated notes or staccato melodies, you're pretty sure that the student is going to use a rebound. So the rebound touch release is first learned in grade 3 of the lesson and technique book on page 36. So we have Chopin asking the student to listen and to understand this new touch release. So in this one, the wrist rebounds very easily and flexibly up. And it is much easier to play if the student uses the energy in their upper arm to slide forward into the wood of the piano. Listen to this. So that is a drop, and then a lovely roll, and then here's another drop, right? And then rebound staccatos. So you notice that every time I play a different third interval, my wrist and my forearm change location, right? So we're going much more into the space above the keys, and we're going towards the fall board of the piano. Another good portato. Finger staccato here. Actually, these are not finger staccato, right? Finger staccato only can be with one individual note at a time. So when we get to here, we're back to the rebound staccato. And then portato, a nice, well, the way I'm playing this is a beautiful push off, right? And it's really because I've got a really very big sound. So you know what, in the beginning when we said that this would be a woodpecker on measure 5, it actually shouldn't be, right? Because the sound gets heavy, right? And it also slows down the tempo. So at measure 5 and 6, we have to use push-offs. Exactly what we do in 21 and 22. If you'd like to add a little bit of a portato touch release at the very end for this Sonatina movement, please do so for your students.